Hello viewers, welcome to the digital class of Udayanath Autonomous College of Science and Technology. So viewers, today's class will be all about a new topic in C programming language, that is functions. So what are functions? So actually functions is a very vital part in C programming language. In every programming language, functions or methods, they play a very vital role, because whatever programming we will be doing in the software development, all are related to a function. So you have a lot of doubt, or the students normally have a lot of doubt in a function chapter. So today's video will be all about the introduction of functions, how many types of functions are there, how they work. Today's video will be all about that. So without wasting much of our time, let's move on to the slide, that is functions. So function, a self-contained program segment or a subroutine that carries out a specific well-defined task and has a single exit, that is called as your function. So what do you mean by function? So we can call it as a self-contained program. That means a program is contained within a curly bracket. So that's why it is called as a self-contained program segment. It is also called as a subroutine that carries out a specific well-defined task. That means a function is always responsible for specifying or evaluating or executing a well-defined task or a particular task. That means it is a part of program that actually carries out the specific or a particular task, and after completing that task the function gets over, or it has a single exit. That means whenever we call a function or whenever we execute a function, it has a lot of programs or a lot of codings or a lot of statements which are actually responsible for defining or specifying or evaluating the specific task, and it has only a single exit. So in simple words, function is a predefined routine to perform a particular operation. So as we have discussed that function can also be called as a predefined routine. Why it is called as routine? Because all the statements in the function are executed one by one from top to bottom structure. So whenever we are in a need of executing or evaluating a particular operation, at that time function plays a role. So it is simply a collection of predefined routines or statements. So a function is a collection of code which is executed when the function is called. That means whenever there is a need of a particular function, at that time the user calls it, and then the program or the statement that are written inside the function are get executed. That means whenever there is a need, only at that time the function is called, and rest of the time the function gets deactivated. It only gets activated when they are called by the user. So every C program has at least one function, which is main function. So whenever we are writing a C program, as we have discussed previously, that every function or every program has a function that is known as your main function, and all the most trivial programs can define additional function. That means every C program must have a single function named as main function, because as we know the structure of the C program, that main function is actually responsible for the execution of the program. That means whenever the program is executed, it gets executed from the main function only, or it starts executing from the main function only. So it is not necessary that main function can be written in the first line or after the header file only. So you can put main function anywhere in the program, but whenever the program will get executed, it will search for the main function first, and the main function will be executed first, then it will move to the other functions, or main function will call some other function and they will get executed. So it is the most trivial program that can define additional function. That means there is no need that a program will have only one function named as main function. That means a program can have a lot of functions, and according to the requirement of the user can define the functions that are needed by them. So you can divide up your code into separate functions. That means whenever we have a need of different functions or different tasks, at that time we can divide our code into separate functions. But why do we need it? Because whenever a function is called, obviously it reserves some memory. So if we will call a whole program at a time, let's say we have written a program inside the main function. and we have not created any type of function. So when the main function will be called, so a lot of program will reserve the memory unnecessarily. That means there is no need of reserving the memory at that time. So the program or the execution of the program gets slower when they are called at a time. So whenever we are dividing the code into separate functions, and according to the need the functions will be called, at that time the particular function will reserve a memory, and when it will move to another function, then the previous function will be deallocated from the memory. So it makes the memory free from congestion. So how you divide up your code among different functions is up to you, but logically the division is such that each function performs a specific task. That means it totally depends on the user, that how the user will divide up the functions or the codes into a particular function. But logically we have to define each function, or we have to divide the code in such a manner that it performs a specific task. So a function declaration tells the compiler about a function's name, return type and parameters. That means whenever we will be declaring a function, it will inform the compiler about the function name. That means there is a name specified to the function. So that is called as your function's name. Return type. So till now whatever we have discussed, that the main function is written void because main function is not returning any type of value. But there is a chance that a function can return a value. So at that time we have to define the return type, that may be integer, character or anything, and parameters. Parameters are the values that are passed to the functions, so which we will be discussing in our next slides. So a function definition provides the actual body of the function. That means every function has two parts, that is declaration and definition. So declaration actually informs the compiler about the name of the function, its return type and parameter, whereas the function definition is actually the body of the function. That means whatever code we will be writing inside the function will be enclosed within the function definition. Now we will be moving to what are the advantages of functions. So the first point, it is very easy to understand. That means whenever we will divide the function or the whole program into number of functions or methods or commands, at that time it becomes very easy for the user to understand it as a whole. That means whatever function will be called or whatever program will get activated, at that time it becomes very easy for the user to understand it. So second point, it avoids the repetition of the same set of codes again and again. That means suppose we have written a code and it is required again and again within the program. So we need not to have to write the code again and again in the program. So we can set that set of codes to a function, and wherever needed the function will be called. That means simply instead of writing, let us say we have encoded 10 number of statements in a single function, so we need not have to write those 10 number of codes again and again within the program. So whatever function name we have given, we can call that function name, and whatever code were written inside that function will be executed. So it makes the program easier to debug. So what do you mean by bug first? Bug are the errors that actually occur in the program. So debug means correcting the errors or rectifying the errors. So whenever we are calling a function, so as we know that a group of commands or statements are enclosed within the function. So if the function is not running well or it has some problem that it is not being executed properly, at that time we can debug the program, and it is very easier for the user to detect the error and correct it. So program containing functions are also easier to maintain. So this is also a very vital part, because whatever functions we are writing or whatever functions we are dealing with are actually the set of codes that are needed in the program. So whenever there is a problem in the function, or we can see that, suppose let us say we have taken an example of a calculator. So calculator has a lot of function, let us say sum function for addition, SUB function for subtraction, PRO function for multiplication. So whenever there is a need of a particular function, that function will get activated, and if you are not getting a correct answer, at that time we can go to that particular function and we can check for the errors and we can easily maintain it. So we can call C functions any number of times in a program, and from any place in a program. This is also a very big advantage of function. That means a C program can have a number of functions. We have no limitation of defining any number of functions. That means we can have n number of functions in a single program, and it is also not necessary that we will call it from a particular position. That means in a program where there is a need of a function, the user can take the advantage of it. That means the user can call any number of any function from any point of program. So we can track a large C program easily when it is divided into multiple functions. So it becomes very easy for the user to detect the multiple functions or to track a particular function from the multiple functions in a program, and we can easily maintain it. So these are some of the advantages of functions. Now we will be moving to defining a function. So whenever we have to write a function or we have to define a function, we need to have the following things. A function definition in C programming consists of a function header or a function body. That means every C program has a function header and it also has a function body. So here are all of the parts of the function. That means the function has different parts, and we will be going through each part of the function. The first part is the return type. So a function may return a value. That means every function should not be void. That means as we have discussed in our previous programs, we are writing void main. So it is not necessary that main will not return any type of value. So when there is a chance of returning a value, we have to specify the return type of that function. So what is that return type? So return type is the data type of the value that the function returns. That means if we have a function and we have to return an integer value from that function, so we can define the return type of that function as int or long int. Suppose we have to return a character from a particular function, at that time we can specify the return type of that function as character. So return type is simply the data type of the value that the function actually returns. So some function perform the desired operation without returning a value. So it is also not necessary that every function will return a value. So depending on the requirement of the user, the function may not at all return a value. So in this case, the return type is the keyword void. So as we have discussed that void is a special category of return type where there is no probability of returning any type of value by the function. So if any function is not returning any type of value, at that time we have to specify the keyword void before the or as the return type of the function. So next comes our function name. So this is actual name of the function. That means the function is named first. That means every function has a name. So the actual name of the function is termed as the function name. So the function name and the parameter list together constitute the function signature. So what do we call as the function signature? That means a function name and the list of parameters actually define the function signature. That means function signature is the combination of function name and parameter list. So as we have discussed that function name is the name given to the function and parameters are the values that are actually passed to the functions. So as we know from the structure of C program that every function name should not be a keyword. That means I cannot take int as a function name, char as a function name, if as a function name, while as a function name, because those are keywords. So any keywords cannot be taken as a function name. So next comes our part, that is parameter. So parameter is like a placeholder. That means parameter is a placeholder. That means it will hold a place in the memory to hold a value. That may be integer, that may be character, that may be real value or anything. So when a function is invoked, you pass a value to the parameter. That means whenever we call a function or there is a need of calling a function, we need to pass a value and that value is termed as a parameter. This value is referred to as actual parameter or argument. That means whatever value will be passed, that is called as the actual parameter or argument. Let's say there is a function named as sum function and we have to throw or we have to send a value to the sum function. So, if we are sending a value, let us say we are sending 10 to the sum function, at that time 10 is the value that is being sent, and so it is called as the actual parameter or argument. So, the parameter list refers to the type, order and number of parameters of the function. That means, the parameter that we are talking about, it actually refers to the type, that means the return type, the order and the number of parameters of a function. That means, every function has a number of parameter. That means, we can define a single parameter, we can have multiple parameter, or we can have no parameters in a function at all. So, parameters are optional. As we discussed that there may not be any parameter at all in a function. So, that is, a function may contain no parameters. That means, a function can have at least one parameter, or there may be no parameters at all, or there can be any number of or n number of parameter in a function. Next comes our function body. The function body contains a collection of statements that define what the function does. That means, this is the vital part of a function, or this is called as the function definition. That means, where there is a need of defining the function or the work of a function. That means, whenever a function will be called, what is the work of the function or what is the execution capability of a function is defined under the function body. That means, the function body contains a collection of statements that define what the function does. That means, whatever statements are written in a particular function, and after execution how the function behaves is actually written inside the function body. So, these are the 4 parts of a function, that is return type, function name, parameters and function body. Next, we will be defining a function through its example. So, you can see that I have written over here int get area of square, and in bracket I have written int side. So, here you can see that first we have to give the return type, as we have discussed now. So, return type is the data type that we specify to a function. So, when there is a need of returning a value by a function, at that time we have to specify the data type of that function. So, here the function has a capability of returning a value, and that is the integer value. That is why before declaring the function name we have to define it a return type. So, here the return type is int, that is integer. Next comes our function name. So, function name is here get area of square is the function name. That means, when there is a need of calling a function, we will be calling the function through this name get area of square. Then here you can see there is a bracket over here, and inside the bracket I have written int side. So, here side is a function parameter. That means, this is the variable which will hold the value when the value will be passed. So, the side is a special type of variable that will hold the value, and as the value that will be passed is integer type, that is why side is also declared as integer type. That is why I have written here int side. So, next the block of function opens, that is the curly bracket. So, I have written here int area. So, int area is the local variable declaration. Why? Because area is a variable that will be active inside this function only. So, that is why it is written as local variable declaration. So, let us say we have sent a value 4 to the side. So, side is a special type of variable inside the function get area of square. So, let us say 4 has been stored in side. So, 4 into 4, that is 16, that will be stored in area. So, here I have written return area. So, return is a special type of keyword that will return the value to its calling function. So, as we know that get area of square has been called from somewhere, and this is the body. So, area, that means 16 will be sent to the function where it has been called. So, that is why it has been written as return statement. So, this is the structure of defining a function, that is return type, function name, function parameter, local variable declaration. These are the statements of the get area of square functions. This is the function parameter, and this is the return statement. Next, we will be defining what is function declaration. So, a function declaration tells the compiler about a function name and how to call a function. That means, the declaration of the function actually informs the compiler what is the name of the function, and how it should be called. So, the actual body of the function can be defined separately. That means the body of the function should be actually defined separately, because there is two concepts, that is function declaration and function definition, or the body of the function. So, here you can see the function declaration has the following part, that is return type, function name, then parameter list. So, as we have discussed in the example over here, return type, function name and function parameter. So, function declaration is required when you define a function in one source file and you can call that function in another file. So, whenever we have to declare a function, so the function will be called from the source file from another file. So, in such case you should declare the function at the top of the file calling the function. That means whenever we have a need to access a function, first of all there is a need to declare it first, because as we know that if any variable we are using in the program, we need to declare first, so that the memory will be reserved and then we can use the variable. Here also, whenever we have a need to call a function or execute a function, so first of all we need to declare it, or we have to reserve a memory for the function, and after that only the function can be used in the program. So, next part is our calling of function. So, while creating a C function, you give a definition of what the function has to do. That means whatever requirement of the user, the function has to be defined in a C function. To use a function, you will have to call that function to perform the defined task. That means whatever task we have to execute or we have to do, so that task must be initialized or must be declared to a particular function. So, when a program calls a function, the program control is transferred to the called function. So, whenever there is a need of calling a function, the program control is transferred to the called function. So, a called function performs a defined task, and when its return statement is executed or when its function ending close brace is reached, it returns the program control back to the main program. That means whenever we have to call a function, we can call it from anywhere in the program. So, whenever we are calling a function from a particular point, so the function which is calling is known as the calling function, and the function which is actually called is called the called function. So, whenever there is a need of calling a function by the user, at that time the user can call the function from anywhere in the program, and whenever he will be calling a function, that particular function will be called as the calling function, and the function which is actually called is called as the called function. So, to call a function, you simply need to pass the required parameter along with the function name, and if the function returns a value, then it can store the return value. That means whenever we are calling a function, we need to have required number of parameters. That means whatever value we need to send to the function, we have to send the values along with the function name, that is the name of the function that has been given, and if there is any return type specified by the function, so it must have a return type, and whenever the function will return any value to its calling function, so it at that time the value must be stored in a variable. So, now we will be moving to the next part, that is function arguments. So, if a function is to use arguments, it must declare variable that accept the values of the argument. That means whenever we are passing any value to the called function, so the called function must have some variable in order to hold those values, and those are called the arguments. So, these variables are called the formal parameters of the function. That means whatever the values we are sending are called the actual parameter, and the function which is actually holding the value that has been passed are called as formal parameters. So, formal parameter behave like other local variable inside the function and are created upon entry into the function and destroyed upon exit. That means actually the formal parameter is just like the local variable of that function. So, whenever we are entering to the function, the formal parameter will get executed, and after exiting from the function, all the formal parameter will not be executed. So, while calling a function, there are two ways in which the argument can be passed to a function. So, whenever we have to pass any type of argument to the function, so we have actually two ways or two categories. The first category is our call by value. So, this method copies the actual value of an argument into the formal parameter of the function in this case changes made to the parameter inside the function has no effect on the argument. That means whenever we are passing any value directly from the calling function to the called function, at that time we call the concept as call by value. So here in this function, whenever we are changing any parameter in the called function, so it will not be reflected in the calling function. So this is the main demerit or the property of a call by value reference. Next we are calling by reference. So the second category is call by reference. So this method copies the address of an argument into a formal parameter. Inside the function, the address is used to access the actual argument used in the called function. So this means that the changes made to the parameter will affect the argument. So here in this method, actually we are not sending the value, we are actually sending the address of that value through a pointer. So pointer is another concept which we will be reading in other videos. So in call by reference, there is no concept of sending the value. We have to send the address of that value, and if any changes made in that address, so it will obviously affect the value. So that's why the called function will have a greater impact on the calling function. That means if we are changing any value in the called function, it will also reflect in the calling function. So this is the main difference between call by value and call by reference. Now we will be moving to the example. Here you can see I have written void main. So when the main function has no capability of returning any type of value to the called function, so we are defining it as void. So here you can see void function name, and that means we have declared a function. So here it has been written as function declaration. Now we are calling the function. So here I have written function name, the function name will be called, and that's why here we have written function call, and here we have actually defined the function. That means we have to specify the return type of that function, and we have to enclose a lot of statement according to the requirement of the user inside the curly bracket. So here is the example. You can see over here I have started the program with hash include stdio.h. So here after entering only, it is very essential to declare a function. So here I have written my function. So my function is the declaration part. So now I will be moving to main function. So here you can see I have not written void over here. That means we can specify other return type to the main function also. So here the main function has a return type as int. So here I have called my function. So my function is the function call. So this is no main function is the calling function, and my function is the called function. So whenever this line will be executed, it will jump to this one. So here I have written my function. So as my function is not returning any type of value, so that's why it has been written as void. So whenever it will enter here, it will print hello I am a function. So it will simply print a message hello I am function. So after printing, when it will move to the close curly brace, so again it will be redirected to my function, and after that return 0 is written. The return 0 means exit from the program. So the program will get exited. So this is the example of a function. So here we have to declare a function, here we have to define the body of the function. So it is totally dependent on the user, the when user will call what type of function. So it actually depends on the user when the user will call a function. So whenever the function will be called, it will move to the function definition part and it will execute accordingly. So I hope you have all understood what is function, what are the characteristics of function, what are the advantages of function, what are the categories of function, what is call by value and call by reference. So if you have any doubt, you can comment me on our YouTube channel. Till then, thank you.